Chapter 2, Surah Baqarah, Part 9, Section 44 of Chapter 2, verse 246 to 260. Islamic Leadership. Main discussion. Have you not turned your vision to the chiefs of the children of Israel after Moses? They said to a prophet among them, "Appoint for us a king that we may fight in the cause of Allah." Remarks. Joshua was a helper of Moses. Joshua became the leader after the departure of Moses. He captured Canaan. According to the instructions of Moses, they were not allowed to appoint a king or even tribal chiefs. They lived in Canaan accordingly for about 125 years, 1150 BCE to 1025 BCE. In times of crisis, they were led by temporary leaders called judges. The system was peaceful. Statehood ultimately brings forth wars and internal conflicts. However, the Jews felt the necessity of a king due to conflicts with neighboring tribes. Some of them were evicted from their homes. He, prophet, said, "Is it not possible, if you are commanded to fight, that you will not fight?" They said, "How could we refuse to fight in the cause of Allah, seeing that we were turned out of our homes and our families?" But when they were commanded to fight, they turned back, except a small band among them. But Allah has full knowledge of those who do wrong. Their prophet said to them, "Allah has appointed Talut as king over you." They said, "How can he exercise authority over us when we are better fitted than he to exercise authority, and he is not even gifted with wealth in abundance?" He said, "Allah has chosen him above you, and has gifted him abundantly with knowledge and stature. Allah grants his authority to whom he pleases. Allah is all-embracing, and he knows all things." And their prophet said to them, "A sign of his authority is that there shall come to you the Ark of the Covenant, with therein of security from your Lord, and the relics left by the family of Moses, and the family of Aaron carried by angels. And this is a symbol for you, if you indeed have faith." Remarks. Allah appointed Talut as their king. Muhammad, PBUH, performed both prophetic and leadership duties himself. His ummah needed a leader after his death. It is most likely that he nominated Hadrat Ali, R, as the leader to succeed him. However, Hadrat Ali was only about 32 years old when the Prophet, PBUH, departed, and the people were not ready to obey a young man. Hadrat Ali was from Makkah, and many in Medina preferred one of their own to be their leader. At that time, the Roman and Persian emperors had not yet been defeated, and for them, leadership primarily meant the leadership of Medina. Ultimately, the people from the surrounding tribes pledged allegiance, bay'ah, to Hadrat Abu Bakr, and he became the first leader. Abu Bakr referred to himself as Khalifatur Rasul, which means representative of the Prophet. The highest Islamic leadership, highest Imam, Caliph, serves as the guardian of the Islamic Ummah. He oversees the guards, al-Mudakin, an unpaid paramilitary force of devout individuals, and collects zakat through mosques at various levels, and spends it for the benefit of Islam. 1. The seat of highest Islamic leadership. The seat of highest Islamic leadership was the Prophet's mosque at Medina. Subsequently, Hadrat Ali shifted the seat to the Great Mosque of Kufa. Figure 2.27. The Great Mosque of Kufa. Caliph Omar founded the city of Kufa. He settled some Jews in the city who continued living in Arabian Peninsula, even after being evicted from Medina. Caliph Omar constructed the Great Mosque as well. Sources attribute the construction of the Great Mosque of Kufa in the middle of the 7th century to the Caliph Omar. There is a legend that says the edifice was built on a temple constructed by Adam. It is also believed that the angel Gabriel was referring to the mosque when he declared, 12 miles of lands from all directions of the mosque are blessed by its holiness." Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. There is a reason for Caliph Omar to found the city of Kufa and Caliph Ali to shift the seat of the highest Islamic leadership over there. Kufa is close to Babylon. In light of the following verses, the area is the center of Islamic Ummah, and this is a book which we have sent down, bringing blessings and confirming which came before it, that thou may warn the mother of cities and all around her. Those who believe in the hereafter believe in this, and they are constant in guarding their prayers. Al-Quran 6-92. Thus, have we sent by inspiration to thee an Arabic Quran, that thou may warn the mother of cities and all around her, and warn of the day of assembly, of which there is no doubt. Some will be in the Jannat, and some in the blazing fire. If Allah had so willed, He could have made them a single people, but He admits whom He wills to His mercy, and the wrongdoers will have no protector nor helper. Al-Quran 42, 7-8. Babylon is known as the mother of cities. It was the capital of the great Medo-Persian empires. The city fell into ruins over time, but it has surviving extensions, such as Seleucia, the capital of the Grecian Empire, Ctesiphon, the capital of the Persian Empire, Kufa, the capital of the Caliphate, and Baghdad, the capital of the Abbasid Sultan Caliphate and present-day Iraq. Arabians and Persians had been living around Babylon since ancient times. Therefore, the people living around the mother of cities, Babylon, were Arabs and Persians. These people were primarily targeted for conversion to Islam. In light of the following verses, the land of Arabs and Persians formed the home of Ummah, Darussalam, home of peace. The home extends from Morocco to the Pamirs. General area Babylon is the center of gravity of the land. This is the way of thy Lord, leading straight. We have detailed the verses for those who receive admonition. For them will be a home of peace, Darussalam, home of Ummah, Morocco to the Pamirs, in the presence of their Lord. He will be their protecting friend because they practiced. Al-Quran 6, 126-127. Figure 2.28. Home of Ummah, home of peace, Darussalam. The Roman and Persian emperors were rapidly defeated by the immediate followers of Prophet Muhammad, PBUH. Thus, Islam was preached in the home of Ummah by defeating the Taghuts, opposing tribal chiefs, kings, and emperors through jihad. The above narration is supported by Islamic history and the map of the Muslim world. The plan of Allah never fails. Today, Islam is a well-established religion with well-defined land. The standard Islamic leadership, Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, did not make any crown, throne, or palace. He did not have bodyguards or ceremonial guards. He did not circulate money. He did not collect tax. He did not make paid army and police. He did not establish any court. He did not have ministers. He did not have Majlis al-Shura, parliament. So Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, did not make a government. He fought only to remove the Taghuts, powers, so that the idolaters could accept Islam freely and peacefully. He led the people from the Mosque of Medina. Prophet, PBUH, sent emirs, leaders, in captured areas. They too controlled the people from the mosques. They collected zakat and sent it to Prophet, PBUH, to spend it for Islam. Therefore, the Islamic leadership is based in the mosques at different levels. They sit in the mosques and lead regular prayers. They are easily approachable to the people. So in the standard scenario, the highest Islamic leader, or caliph, should be imam of the Prophet's mosque or of the great mosque of Kufa. However, he can also work from any other prominent mosque. A national imam in the chain of Islamic leadership should lead from a prominent mosque of his state. He is selected by the highest Islamic leadership, caliph. The national imam should have zonal imams under him, and the zonal imams should have community, village imams under them. The imams of the community, village mosques, are the grassroots. The above structure may have additional tiers. The entire Islamic world should be unified under a single leadership, established through a network of mosques at various levels. This leadership does not form or run governments. The highest Islamic leadership, Caliph, is the commander of the guards, al-Mutakim, as well, through a different chain of command. They are like a paramilitary force, but unpaid. Thus, in every Islamic country, there will be two military forces. One is the forces of al-Mutakin under the highest Islamic leadership, and the other is the national defense forces of the state under the national leadership, which runs the government. The home of the Ummah, Jerusalem, home of peace, spanning from Morocco to the Pamirs, is a vast region encompassing many nations and states. The national or state leadership could be a king, emir, president, or prime minister, who may be selected, elected, or traditionally established. Their responsibilities include circulating money, collecting taxes, maintaining a paid national army, police, justice system, government departments, and more. However, they should be oath-bound, bay'ah, to the highest Islamic leadership, Caliph, and follow his orders based on the Quran. The Quran does not mandate that the entire Ummah be governed by a single government. Each country or nation should be governed independently. Otherwise, some nations might feel that they are dominated in the name of Islam. However, there can only be one highest Islamic leadership, Caliph. The entire Islamic Ummah must have a single highest Islamic leadership. What? Have they partners who have established for them some religion without the permission of Allah? Had it not been for the decree of judgment, the matter would have been decided between them. But verily the wrongdoers will have a grievous penalty. Al-Quran 42-21. The national leaders, such as kings, emirs, presidents, and prime ministers, cannot be oppressive because people remain active under the chain of Islamic leadership established through the mosques at different levels. The system is better than democracy, where the government is given to a political party for 4 to 5 years, and they do whatever they want. To conclude, the Sultan Caliphs that hijacked the caliphate from the mosques are not good examples. One may follow Iran, where Imam Khomeini did not take over the government, but became a guardian and the head of the guards, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Islamic leadership of the grassroots. The ordinary people living in the villages, communities, should be led by the imams of the village/community mosques. An imam of a village community mosque must be acceptable to the highest Islamic leadership. Do's and don'ts of the Islamic leadership. Islamic leaderships at different levels should exercise their authorities through the mosques at different levels. An Islamic leadership should not run a national or state government. Governments often become corrupted and earn bad reputations, which can be counterproductive to the Islamic leadership. The tasks of circulating money, collecting taxes, maintaining regular army, police, judicial system, utility services, etc., should be managed by national kings, presidents, prime ministers/emirs, governors, similar persons. The highest Islamic leadership may appoint governors, or the governors may be elected by the people from those chosen by the highest Islamic leadership. They may also be traditional kings or emirs who must be loyal to the highest Islamic leadership. The governments should maintain the justice systems, but the punishments of the crimes mentioned in the Quran must be according to the Quran. And the system must follow the procedure of the Quran to judge and execute the punishment. The Islamic leadership remains observant. Salat and Zakat often come together in the Quran, so both are based in the mosque. Zakat must be collected by the mosques. It should be sent to the highest Islamic leadership to spend for Islam. A person should pay zakat to the mosque in his area. If he pays to any other, it should be considered as sadaqah, charity, not zakat. The sadaqah is for the people mentioned in the Quran. One can give it directly. Alms sadaqah, are for the poor and the needy, and those employed to administer the funds, for those whose hearts have been reconciled to truth. In the cause of God, in the cause of God, and for the wayfarer, thus is it, ordained by God, and God is full of knowledge and wisdom. Al-Quran 9-60. The rate of zakat may be fixed by the highest Islamic leadership, Caliph. It may not be 2.5% in all cases at all times, but he cannot forgive it totally. The highest Islamic leadership allocates and spends zakat according to a planned strategy aimed at improving the welfare of the ummah. Limitations of Islamic leadership. Following limitations are imposed by Islam. The Islamic leadership has no power inside the perimeter of a Muslim's house. Actually, none has authority to enter a Muslim's house until the owner of the house allows entry. A person is considered as the king of his house, and he can do whatever he may want to do inside his house without affecting the society. Islamic leadership cannot devise new laws and punishments. It can only direct the execution of laws that are clearly mentioned in the Quran, along with their prescribed punishments. These laws primarily relate to theft, sexual crimes, murder, usury, and creating disorder on the land. For example, the Quran does not suggest a punishment for drinking wine, so an Islamic court cannot punish someone for drinking. Similarly, it cannot punish someone for not wearing a hijab, because the Quran does not prescribe a punishment for breaking the hijab. Other rules for running the country and government establishments may be made by the governors, such as kings, presidents, prime ministers, parliaments, etc. However, they should fear Allah when deciding the punishment for an offense. Islamic leadership should not create unnecessary laws that the Prophet, PBUH, did not establish, such as prohibiting women from driving cars, forbidding women from moving alone, mandating that men must keep beards, or banning people from eating in public places during the month of Ramadan. The Quran is exhaustive regarding religious rules and punishments. The highest Islamic leadership cannot enforce hijab by force, by al-mudakeen, or by police. In light of the Quran, they can only advise to wear the hijab. Only the sexual intercourse without marriage is punishable offense. Other sexual activities, such as seeing, touching, etc., have no punishment in the Quran. So Islamic leadership cannot stop the mixing of man and woman by force. However, he can advise. An Islamic leader may not like cinema, singing, dancing, etc., as Prophet, PBUH, did not like, but he cannot stop these, because Prophet, PBUH, did not stop, and the Quran is silent about these matters. Islamic leadership cannot stop free thinking by disbanding the books and videos. However, he should have matching countermeasures. For example, Prophet, PBUH, had pet poets to counter opposing poetry. If one's entertaining narration mislead people from the path of God without knowledge, and throw ridicule the action according to Section 2 of Chapter 31 should be taken. In reality, the kings, emirs, governors, ministers, leaders, and general people happily follow the highest Islamic leadership, Caliph. They are proactive in following the orders, so he should be careful in talking. He cannot make everybody an angel. Verse 249-252. When Talut set forth with the armies, he said, Allah will test you at the stream. If any drinks of its water, he goes not with my army. Only those who taste not of it go with me. A mere sip out of the hand is excused. But they all drank of it, except a few. When they crossed the river, he and the faithful ones with him, they said, This day we cannot cope with Goliath and his forces. But those who were convinced that they must meet Allah said, How oft, by Allah's will, has a small force vanquished a big one? Allah is with those who steadfastly persevere. When they advanced to meet Goliath and his forces, they prayed, Our Lord, pour out constancy on us and make our steps firm. Help us against those that reject faith. By Allah's will, they routed them, and David slew Goliath. And Allah gave him power and wisdom, and taught him whatever he willed. And did not Allah check one set of people by means of another, the earth would indeed be full of mischief. But Allah is full of bounty to all the worlds. These are the verses of Allah. We rehearse them to you in truth. Verily, you are one of the apostles. Remarks. Here the need to obey leadership is highlighted with the story of Talut, Saul. They asked God for a king through their prophet Samuel, but when God nominated Talut, they were not proactive to accept him. And when Talut was moving for a battle, most of them disobeyed his order. However, the forces of Talut defeated the forces of Goliath. Goliath was a gigantic warrior and was feared by the people. David killed Goliath. Talut was happy on David and gave him his daughter in marriage. Talut ruled from 1025 BCE to 1007 BCE. After Talut, David became king. David is famous for his songs. After David, his son Solomon became the king. During his time, the kingdom rose to the peak of its glory. He made the first temple on the Mount of Jerusalem. Verse 253. Those apostles we endowed with gifts, some above others. To one of them Allah spoke. Others he raised to degrees. To Jesus, the Son of Mary, we gave clear signs and strengthened him with the Holy Soul. If Allah had so willed, succeeding generations would not have fought among each other after clear signs had come to them, but they to wrangle, some believing and others rejecting. If Allah had so willed, they would not have fought each other, but Allah fulfills his plan. Remarks. After the death of Solomon, many of the Jews revolted. They wanted heavy yoke, religious rule, mounted on them to be removed. Ultimately, the kingdom was divided into two kingdoms. Crisis arises in an ummah when some people believe and others reject. Therefore, spreading the teachings of Islam and maintaining the societies under the local mosques are necessary. But what Muslims did, the Jews divided after three kings, Saul, David, and Solomon. Muslims divided after three caliphs, Abu Bakr, Omar, and Othman. If Muhammad, PBUH, were not the last prophet, we would know what we are. However, after the division, many Jews began to worship the idol of Baal, but Muslims remained faithful to God. The Quran has given utmost impotence on faith building. It is one of the major causes for which Muslims have not deviated from Islam, at personal level at least, and the same Quran is followed by all. Another factor contributing to the survival of Islam is mosque-based societies. Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, practically demonstrated in Medina how such a society should function. He established cultural norms among Muslims. The Islamic leadership at national and international levels may diminish, but the Islamic system, despite being significantly weakened, endures at the social level, awaiting revitalization. In this respect, we should understand the evolution of Islamic leadership too, and decide our future acts. The evolution of Islamic leadership. The matter is discussed under the following headings: lack of knowledge on the Quran, the great disaster of Karbala, and the advent of Sultan Caliphs, subsequent Sultan Caliphates, reviving Islamic leadership. 1. Lack of knowledge on the Quran. Allah repeatedly called to think on the Quran, but Muslims do not think as it should be thought. One picks up a verse from somewhere and tries to explain it with the hadiths. But Prophet, PBUH, never explained the Quran. He was forbidden to do it. Moreover, he burned the hadiths that were written by the Sahaba. Many common people were misguided by pious-looking people who did not have genuine knowledge of the Quran. It was one of the major causes for which the standard Islamic leadership got destroyed. 2. The great disaster of Karbala and the advent of Sultan Caliphs. It was Muawiyah who destroyed this standard Islamic leadership and established kingship. Subsequent caliphs followed him. They hijacked the title of caliph. They used to be called Sultan Caliphs. The Sultan Caliphs were actually emperors. Muawiyah joined Muslims after the capture of Makkah. Subsequently, he got the governorship of Damascus. The city was a forward headquarters of the Roman Byzantine Empire. Thus, Muawiyah got ready-made palaces, local army, forts, and government machineries left by the Romans. Damascus and surrounding area was full of Christians who did not convert by then. Muawiyah married a Christian woman. She was daughter of Badal ibn Hunayf, the chief of an influential Christian tribe, Calabite tribe. The local Christians were highly impressed. The Byzantines were trying to return with the help of local Christians, but the local Christians preferred to support an Arab leader, Muawiyah, instead of a European emperor. However, the diplomacy of marriage was not necessary. Islam was rising at that time, and nothing could stand in front of it. It is likely that Allah arranged the security of Arab Christians in this way. They too are an ummah in the religion of Abraham. In fact, they listened to the call of God before the rest of the Arabs. However, Christianity has greatly deviated. They should become Muslims now. In those days, many Arabians used to send their babies to grow with the nomad tribes so that they become fit to survive in the harsh terrain. Muawiyah sent his son, Yazid, to his mother's tribe. Thus, Yazid became more of a Christian than a Muslim. After Hazrat Ali, the people of Medina elected Hadrat Hassan ibn Ali as the caliph. Muawiyah neutralized Hadrat Hassan through a treaty. The terms of the treaty stipulated that Muawiyah would become caliph, but would not nominate a successor. Hadrat Hassan was killed by poisoning in 670 CE. Later, in 676 CE, Muawiyah nominated his son Yazid as his successor. After the death of Muawiyah, Hadrat Hussein ibn Ali, younger brother of Hadrat Hassan, was going to Kufa to rule as a caliph from the great mosque of Kufa. Hadrat Hussein had his family and a few al-Mutakin with him. Yazid attacked them with his regular army, assisted by Syrian tribal forces, and killed them on the way to Kufa at Karbala. Subsequently, Yazid invaded Medina and punished the people with massive killing and destruction. The city was plundered for 3 days, and around 1,000 women were raped. Many Sahaba from Medina were killed in the battles of Camel and Siffin. Yazid killed many of the rest. After the death of Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, if the people of Medina selected Hadrat Ali as the caliph, they and their children would not die in this way. Prophet, PBUH, clearly nominated Hazrat Ali as the next leader. 3. Subsequent Sultan Caliphs. As the time passed, Abbasids appeared in place of Umayyads, but they too did not revive the standard Islamic leadership. They ruled as Sultan Caliphs. Another 2 branches of Sultan Caliphs appeared in Africa, Fatimids and Almohad. The last Sultan Caliphs appeared in Turkey. It diminished after the First World War. The Sultan Caliphs were actually emperors holding the title of caliph so that nobody rises as a caliph from the mosques of Medina or Kufa. They kept the mosques under guards. Some of them upheld the Sunnah and gave the religion a different look, even though Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, clearly ordered the hadiths to be burned. In terms of prayers, we should follow the traditions set in the mosques of Medina or Kufa. In Medina, the Prophet, PBUH, established the tradition, and in Kufa, Hazrat Ali did. The hadith and sunnah are discussed in section 2 of chapter 31.4. Reviving Islamic leadership. In 1979, the Islamic leadership has revived in Iran. The leadership matches the guidelines of the Quran. They maintain the guards, al-Mutakin. In the last 40 years, they have produced the 4th-generation fighter aircraft. They have produced jet engine, advanced submarines, and missiles with high-tech guidance system. They have put satellites in the space. It is because of the help of Allah. They are happy now and dedicated to their jobs. Similar development has been made by Turks. However, Turkey lacks well-organized religious establishments.